Thank you so much for speaking to me. This is an honor, and also thank you for, sharing your insight with us. This is a very powerful movie, and so with your experience, I was wondering, how do you feel that they captured not just the look, but the feeling that one goes through when they're in the situation like this?
They hit a home run in that regard.
Mhm.
They paid such close attention to detail, not just it, like you said, in like how it looks, but how it feels. Like I even made a mental note to myself while watching the film, like, oh, that's even the same water bottles that we drank out of, you know, over there. It's those little details that really sold the film.
So with that being said, you are a you are a videographer, sorry. That was in 1999, you served with them. And so what I wanted to know is from that experience, can you talk about not just being in that situation, but kind of the mental placement of it? Because what we see and what we feel is much different than what is experienced and you feel.
Like you said, began joining, I joined the military in 1999. I served in Iraq in 2003. I specifically served in this town where the incident takes place, Al Ramadi. It's actually where I almost died. I, a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device went off inside of our compound, and like the way that they depicted this, it does such a good job of not just showing the events, but also showing the soldier, like the Navy SEALs, their reaction and how different every single person reacts under, this kind of intense, um, event. And that's how I felt when I experienced it. The confusion, the disorientation, the anger, the sadness, the terror. Um, they do a beautiful job.
Okay. What I love about this is that we get the different reactions. And we see it, we're so used to, the men being strong and get up, but we see the pure terror and the pure horror. Can you talk about kind of that flip, that switch? Because from I've never served, but I've assumed, you take it, you be strong. But when you're actually face to face there, it's much different than what is kind of perceived.
Yeah. Um, in that moment, you don't really know how you're going to react until it happens. And when it does happen, you just do your best to survive and to try and help your buddies survive and also process what the hell is happening. It's very confusing. It's very scary, and they really capture it in this movie.
Right. What's also interesting is also the equipment that is used, having to go back for the equipment that is being worn. Can you talk about that? Seems to be, a struggle in itself, especially when you're in that kind of environment. You're not able to like, let's take off everything and run. Can you talk about because you need that in order to save your life, but at the same time, there's that balance of it can hinder you in your movements.
Yeah. Uh, in that situation, it's your rifle, your vest, it is your lifeline. It is your security blanket that is drilled into you from day one. It's the way that you survive. And in the heat of battle, you have to make split second decisions. I was a videographer, so I had all my battle rattle, my rifle, and I also had a 30-pound beta camera and tripod. I had to make decisions. There were times where I had to leave my camera where it was sitting and take cover and just hope it didn't get blown up.
Right.
Um, and what you do is, you are the most important thing. You are an important asset. You are how we, complete the mission. All that other stuff is secondary. So you do your best to try and, keep your rifle, keep your flak vest, keep that camera, um, you know, because also you don't want an asset like that to fall in the enemy's hands because then all of a sudden that could be used down the road to hurt one of your brethren or your sisters.
Right. How can you, by being a videographer, I'm fascinated with balancing, you get there for a job, but also there are people that are you're looking after and they are looking after you. So everyone has to remain safe, but also getting that footage. Can you talk about the balancing act that one has to do in order to make sure you accomplish the job of getting that footage, but also making sure everything is okay as
Yeah.
well?
Um, First and foremost, I was a soldier.
Mhm.
Secondly, I was a videographer. I've mentioned earlier the incident where um, I nearly lost my life due to an IED. Um, had I used my journalist brain first,
Mhm.
I would have collected incredible videography of the incident that, could have made my career. But in the heat of the moment, um, I knew people were hurt. I knew there was danger. So I left my camera sitting and instead I grabbed an aid bag out from underneath the seat of my truck and I went to go help people because
Mhm.
one, someone's life is not more, less important than the video footage I could
Right.
possibly get.
Right. Can you talk about what we see? We know that everyone go what they went through with the PTSD. We've seen the injuries that occurred, but what it doesn't show is kind of the recovery process. With you yourself, can you talk a little bit about that recovery process, not just the physical, but more part the mental?
It's a lifelong journey, is
Mhm.
what I all I can say. I served in Iraq in 2003, 2004, and I still deal with it every single day of my life. The pain, the trauma, the injuries, uh, you know, it kind of ebbs and flows. Some days are great, but then, an anniversary will come up of, a buddy's death, and I'll relive the whole situation. Um, like I said, it's been a bit of a roller coaster post, service. Um, Struggling with, VA care and mental health care from them and it being effective and not effective. And um, I've found it's been very important for me to stay involved with, small military communities like the VFW, 82nd Airborne Division Association, the American Legion, and staying in touch with other veterans as well as the guys I served with. I check in with them all the time. That has been one of the most effective, things for me.
Right. When you see a movie like Warfare, and also there are many other kind of documentaries and movies based on combat, what does that exactly mean to you specifically?
Um, well, warfare, in my opinion, is the most accurate depiction of Iraq combat that I've ever seen. Uh, I can't speak to other wars because I didn't serve in other wars, but there's always this glamorization in Hollywood films of wars where there's the hero and the bad guy, and this really deals with the realities of war. And that's what really, struck a bell with me and really got my attention was just how real it felt.
Wonderful. And what I wanted to say also is thank you so much for your service, for everything that you have done.
Right
And
on.
with a movie like this, it shows us, what everyone is, what you went through as well. And so I was wondering, kind of, is there a message out there for soldiers for today who are going through that process that you would like to share with them?
I would say, um, don't give up. Reach out to your brothers and sisters that you served with. They're, we're always there to talk with you and help you through this because truly the only way that we can get through this life is together.
Thank you so much for speaking to me.
It's my pleasure.